Then, Lance. The amendment may not hold. My pulse spiked. Explain. A testator under significant sedative influence, an attorney with documented financial ties to a beneficiary, this is contestable. Especially with medical records establishing his cognitive state. Would I win? Another pause. Probably not fully. But you'd settle. And the process would be painful for everybody involved. I leaned back in my chair, stared at the ceiling. Then I made a decision that changed everything. I wouldn't contest the will. I'd do something far more devastating. I'd build something they couldn't touch. Monday morning, I called Mama. She answered on the first ring, which told me she'd been waiting. Nervous. Maybe even hoping I'd fold. Mama, I said. I love you. I want you to know that's never going to change. Lance. Let me finish. My voice stayed steady even though my chest felt like it had a fist inside it. I'm not signing over my shares. I'm also not contesting the will. What I'm doing is removing myself from Torres Landscaping Operations effective immediately. Silence. Baby, you can't. The company needs you. Dion doesn't know how to. Dion has 60% and Uncle Reggie's guidance. They'll figure it out. Lance, please. Mama. I pressed my knuckle against my mouth for just a second. Held it together. You sat in that room and didn't say a word. You let them give me an ultimatum about my own father's legacy. I need you to understand what that did to me. She started crying. Soft, guilty crying. It almost broke me. Almost. I hope one day we can talk about this properly, I said. Until then, I need to focus on my future. I love you. I hung up before either of us could make promises we couldn't keep. Then I drafted resignation letters to Torres landscaping vendors, redirecting relationships wherever contractual possible to Verdant. I contacted our 3 largest commercial clients and introduced myself as the founder of my independent company. 2 of them immediately asked for proposals. Within 72 hours, Dion called me screaming. Apparently, the company's primary chemical supplier had paused their account pending relationship verification. Apparently, 2 of Torres's biggest clients were taking meetings elsewhere. You're sabotaging us, he shouted. I'm running my own business, I said calmly. Have a good evening, Dion. I blocked his number. For the first time in months, I slept 8 full hours. The next 6 months were the hardest of my life. Nobody tells you about the loneliness of building something alone. The silence where family used to be. Thanksgiving came and I ate turkey from Whole Foods at my kitchen counter, watching football by myself, phone stubbornly quiet except for Jerry's check-in text. You good? Working, I replied. That was the truth. That was everything. I'd brought on my first employee, Anne Drummond, 24, landscaping science degree from Southern Illinois, sharp as anything and underemployed. I found her through a LinkedIn post so desperate it made my heart hurt. I offered her $52,000 plus equity share. She cried on the phone. Nobody's ever offered me equity before, she said. Then they were fools, I told her. And turned out to be the best decision I ever made. But the money was tight. Uncomfortably tight. I moved from my decent apartment to a smaller one. Ate a lot of pasta. Drove my 6-year-old Civic until the check engine light became background noise. Meanwhile, through Jalisa, who secretly still texted me sometimes, guilt probably, I heard what was happening at Torres Landscaping. Dion had fired 3 veteran employees within 8 weeks for attitude problems. Translation: they tried to correct his decisions. The vendor situation stabilized but margins had dropped. 2 commercial contracts were lost. Uncle Reggie, apparently, was busy consulting from the golf course. And Mama was holding it together with sheer stubbornness and sweet potato pie. One night in October, sitting at my second-hand desk at 1 a.m., running payroll calculations for Anne and our 2 new part-time workers, I pulled up Torres Landscaping's public business filings. Revenue was down 22%. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. But I didn't stop building. 14 months after I walked away, Grandma Cora called me. I almost didn't answer. Unknown number from Rockford area code. But something, instinct, love, the universe, made me pick up. Lance, baby. Her voice was thinner than I remembered. It's Grandma. I had to step away from my desk. Grandma, are you okay? Better now that I'm talking to you. A pause. I hear you're doing well. Yes, working hard. Your father would be proud. She said it simply. No performance. I need to tell you something that I should have said in my living room that day. I sat down slowly. Lamar Whitfield came to see your father alone, she said. While your mama was at the pharmacy and I was napping. He was there less than 30 minutes. When I woke up, he was gone and your daddy was confused, asking me why Lamar had visited. My stomach dropped. Daddy didn't know what he'd signed. Baby, your daddy didn't even know Lamar had been there. The room seemed to tilt. This was evidence. Real evidence. An 81-year-old woman who'd been in the house, who could testify to the timeline, to Elijah Torres's cognitive state, to Lamar's unsupervised access. Grandma, would you be willing to tell this to an attorney? I've been waiting for you to ask, she said. I called Jerry within 60 seconds. The amendment is fraudulent, I said. You have a witness. The best possible witness. His mother. Jerry exhaled slowly. Lance. This changes everything. I know. Do you want to pursue? Not yet. I surprised even myself. Right now, Grandma needs protection and proper documentation. Get a notarized statement. Then we wait. Wait for what? For the right moment. By month 18, Verdant Property Solutions had transformed. 12 full-time employees. Commercial contracts worth $1.2 million annually. A newly signed partnership with Pinnacle Property Group, one of the largest commercial real estate developers in the Midwest, to service all their Illinois properties. I moved back into a proper apartment. Bought a new car, nothing flashy, a reliable black Audi. Started sleeping like a human being again. And had been promoted to operations manager. She ran the field teams with a precision that made me realize I'd accidentally hired someone better than me at half my job. I'd also hired Lance Jr., not my son, obviously, I didn't have kids, but that's what we called Malik Washington, our 20-year-old apprentice who reminded everyone of me at his age. Eager. Meticulous. Hungry. One Friday evening, the Verdant team went to a restaurant in the West Loop to celebrate landing the Pinnacle contract. 8 of us around a long table. And giving a toast that made 2 people cry. I looked around at these faces, none of them family by blood, and felt something I hadn't felt in almost 2 years. Home. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. Dion. I'd unblocked his number months ago because I'm not someone who lives in avoidance. I just hadn't heard from him. The text read, Lance, I need to talk to you. It's serious. Please. The please got me. Dion had never said please in his life. I didn't respond that night. Let him sit with it. But I screenshot the message and sent it to Jerry with one word, starting. Because I knew what was coming. I'd known for months. Torres Landscaping was bleeding out, and now Dion was desperate. The question was, what would I do about it? We met at a diner in Rockford. Neutral territory. Dion walked in looking like a different person. The smugness was gone. He'd lost weight. Dark circles lived under his eyes. He sat across from me and immediately started talking before the waitress even came. The company's in trouble, he said. Bad trouble. I know. I ordered coffee. Black. He looked startled. You know. Dion, I have relationships with everyone in this industry. Of course I know. He pressed his hands flat on the table. Lance, I need your help. Tell me everything first. It poured out of him. Revenue down 38%. 3 lawsuits from employees he'd wrongfully terminated. A vendor threatening collections. Uncle Reggie had stopped coming in, Apparently a real estate deal of his own had consumed his attention. Torres Landscaping was running on fumes. Reggie set you up, I said quietly. Dion looked up sharply. He manipulated the will, probably had Lemar draft something while Daddy was incoherent, and let you think you'd won something, while positioning himself as your advisor. You gave him access, influence, probably money. He borrowed $40,000, Dion said, voice hollow. I closed my eyes briefly. He's not coming back, I said. Dion stared at his coffee. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. I'm sorry, Lance. His voice broke. I wanted to feel like I mattered, like I'd built something. And Reggie kept telling me this was my moment, that you'd always overshadowed me. Did you believe him? Long pause. Yeah, I did. Something complicated moved through my chest. Not sympathy exactly. Understanding, maybe. Grief for two brothers who'd been played against each other by an uncle who loved neither of them. There's something you need to know about that will, I said. And I told him about Grandma Cora. 2 weeks later, Jerry filed a formal fraud complaint against Lemar Whitfield with the Illinois State Bar. Grandma Cora's notarized affidavit was the centerpiece. Medical records from Daddy's hospice physician confirmed Elijah Torres's diminished cognitive capacity during the amendment signing window. Lemar Whitfield's license was suspended pending investigation within 60 days. Uncle Reggie called me personally. Lance. His voice had lost its authority. I hope we can handle this like men. We are handling it like men, I said. Through proper legal channels. You're going to destroy the family. You did that, I said. In Grandma's living room, when you used 11 family members as weapons against me. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. Your mother is devastated. My mother can call me herself. Silence. What do you want? He finally asked. I want nothing from you, Reggie. Not one thing. I want Daddy's legacy preserved, which means the fraudulent amendment gets reversed. I want Lemar Whitfield to face appropriate consequences for exploiting a dying man. And I want Dion to have a genuine opportunity, not a stolen one. And me. You, I said, are going to live with what you did. That's enough. I hung up. Jerry called an hour later. The Torres Landscaping ownership amendment has been formally challenged. Given Lemar's suspension and the affidavit, opposing counsel is already approaching for settlement. Terms. Original will stands. You and Dion split 50-50 as Elijah intended before the amendment. Dion signs consent. He already said he will. My throat tightened. Get it done. But here was the twist nobody expected. I didn't want Torres Landscaping anymore. Not to run. Not to own. I had something better. I called Dion on a Wednesday. The settlement's going through, I told him. 50-50 ownership restored. Lance, man, I don't even know how to. Stop. My voice was firm but not cruel. Here's what I want to propose. I laid it out cleanly. Verdant Property Solutions would acquire Torres Landscaping as a subsidiary operating brand. Torres keeps its name, its legacy, its employees. Dion stays on as Community Relations Director, a real role, not a fake one, leveraging his actual strengths, which turned out to be genuinely charming people when he wasn't being manipulated by someone else's agenda. My shares in Torres Landscaping, restored fully, fold into Verdant Equity. You'd be my boss, Dion said carefully. We'd be partners, I corrected. Different roles. And Mama. I paused. Mama gets a family again. That's her role. Dion was quiet for so long I thought the call dropped. She misses you every single day, he said finally. She never stopped. She was scared of Reggie too. He had something on her, some old debt Daddy had. I know. Jerry had uncovered that too. Reggie had been holding financial leverage over Mama for years. Coercion, not just toxic family dynamics. Another layer of grief unfolded in me. My mother had been trapped. Tell her to call me, I said. When she's ready. She called that same night. We talked for 3 hours. Cried together. Laughed a little near the end. She told a story about Daddy that I'd never heard. Something about a disastrous first landscaping client who turned out to be his most loyal customer for 12 years. When we hung up, I sat in my apartment and felt my father's presence so strongly I had to put my hand over my chest to hold it. You built it, Daddy. I'm just taking it further. Let me tell you what Wednesday morning looks like now. I pull into the Verdant Property Solutions headquarters. We have headquarters now, a proper building in Schaumburg, Illinois, in my black Audi. Park in a spot that doesn't say reserved because I find that pretentious. Walk through a lobby where 17 people are already working. And meets me at the elevator with a tablet and a coffee. She's been promoted twice since that first day. She runs our entire Midwest operations. Last year I offered her a partnership stake. She negotiated it up from what I offered. I love that about her. Second floor conference room. Malik, no longer Lance Jr., has grown into his own, presents Q1 projections. Verdant and Torres combined annual revenue is now $8.7 million. We have 83 employees across 2 brands. Down the hall in his office is Dion, currently on the phone with a community youth program we're sponsoring. Genuinely happy, genuinely useful, doing work that suits him. 3 years ago I would have said that was impossible. Mama has Sunday dinner every week. Jerry comes sometimes. Grandma Cora, 84 now, calls every Thursday. Uncle Reggie? He sold a property poorly and is currently managing a small car rental franchise. We don't speak. I don't wish him harm. I simply don't have space for him. Lamar Whitfield lost his law license. Permanently. And here's the part that still gets me. Last month, Torres Landscaping's original client of 12 years, Mr. Harold Bennett, the difficult one from Daddy's story Mama told me, called to congratulate me. Your father always said you'd do something remarkable, he said. I had to put him on hold for 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. That's all I needed. My father used to say, Lance, the only thing they can't take from you is what you build with your own hands and your own mind. They tried to take everything else. They took the company he built. They took my family dinners, my holidays, my sense of belonging. They weaponized love against me, used Mama, used blood, used grief when the man wasn't even cold in the ground. And I want to be honest with you, there were nights in that first year when I sat in that small apartment eating pasta, wondering if I'd made the wrong choice. Wondering if I should have folded. Wondering if belonging was worth more than dignity. It isn't. Dignity is the foundation everything else is built on. The moment you trade it to stay in someone else's good graces, you become a tenant in your own life. I chose ownership. Not of a landscaping company, of myself. Everything else followed from that one decision. And Malik. Verdant. The pinnacle contract. The 83 employees who have insurance and equity and a boss who learned what good leadership looks like by watching both good and bad examples. Even Dion became someone worth knowing once the manipulation was removed. Even Mama came back. The people who genuinely love you. They find their way home. The people who were only using you. Their silence is the gift you didn't know you needed. If you're sitting somewhere right now, facing your own ultimatum, someone demanding you shrink, surrender, hand over what you've earned in exchange for belonging, hear me. Build anyway. Build in the dark. Build while you're lonely. Build while they're laughing. Because 3 years from now, they'll be applying for positions in the thing you built while they were busy trying to stop you. And you'll have the grace to hire some of them. That's power. Real power. I remember the exact smell of that boardroom. Lemon pledge and betrayal. It was a Tuesday morning, 8:47 a.m., when my Uncle Richard slid a manila envelope across the mahogany table my grandfather built with his bare hands. The same table I'd refinished in 2019 when nobody else cared enough to show up. We're restructuring, Richard said, not even looking at me. Your position is being eliminated. I laughed. Actually laughed. My position. I repeated. Richard, I am the position. I built the logistics department from a spreadsheet and a prayer. My cousin Vicky, sitting beside him in a blazer she bought with my bonus recommendations, wouldn't meet my eyes. That hit different. We grew up sharing a bedroom in Grandma Ruth's house on Clover Street. She knew every scar on my childhood. And she sat there like a stranger. The envelope contained a termination letter, an NDA, and a check for $4,200. $4,200. For 7 years. This is Memphis Family Freight, I said slowly. My grandfather's company. My company. Richard finally looked at me. Legally, it's our company. And majority votes. I looked around that room. My Aunt Lucille staring at her phone. My cousin Charles picking invisible lint off his sleeve. Vicky finally glancing up, and I swear I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? I picked up that envelope. Folded it. Slid it into my jacket. Okay, I said quietly. Just okay. Because in that moment, something inside me went completely still. Not defeated still. Dangerous still. They thought they were burying me. They didn't realize I was planting myself. Let me take you back. Because you need to understand what they actually took from me. 2016. I'm 23 years old, fresh out of Tennessee State with a logistics degree and $847 in my account. Memphis Family Freight was barely surviving. 3 beat-up delivery trucks, $200,000 in debt, and Grandpa Martin having his second stroke. My father, Luke, had already walked away. Called the business a sinking ship. That abandonment is a whole separate wound we don't have time for today. It was just me, Grandpa Martin, and a part-time dispatcher named Ms. Velma who chewed spearmint gum and knew every street in Shelby County by memory. Baby, this company needs a miracle, Ms. Velma told me one October morning. No, I said. It needs a system. I spent 6 months redesigning every route, every contract, every vendor relationship. I cold-called corporate clients. I landed a regional deal with a grocery distribution chain that tripled our revenue overnight. I hired reliable drivers, Kendrick, Big Ray, Tomas, men who became family. By 2019, Memphis Family Freight had 12 trucks, 43 employees, and a $2.1 million annual contract with a national logistics partner. That's when the family started showing up. Richard, who hadn't touched the business in 11 years, suddenly wanted a VP title. Lucille appeared requesting consulting fees. Vicky graduated college and walked into a management role she never interviewed for. I gave them everything because Grandpa Martin asked me to. Because family. Keep them close, Jaden. Grandpa Martin whispered from his hospital bed in 2020. 3 months later, he was gone. And the wolves stopped pretending to be sheep. I should have seen it coming. But grief makes you foolish. It makes you trust people simply because you share blood. Blood means nothing when money enters the room. The first red flag came from an unlikely source. Kendrick, my longest-standing driver, the man who'd worked doubles without complaint for 3 years, pulled me aside one February afternoon in the loading dock. Jaden, he said, voice low, eyes cutting sideways. You need to look at the fuel receipts from Q4. I almost brushed him off. I was exhausted. Managing operations, vendor calls, HR issues, while Richard hosted strategy lunches at Fleming Steakhouse on the company card. But something in Kendrick's face stopped me. That night, I pulled every fuel receipt from October through December. Then I cross-referenced mileage logs. Then payroll. Then vendor invoices. The numbers didn't just not add up. They screamed. $42,000 in fuel expenses for routes that Ms. Velma's logs showed were never driven. A maintenance contract with a company called Shelby Premier Auto Services. $11,000 paid across 6 months. I googled Shelby Premier Auto Services. It didn't exist. I sat at my kitchen table until 3 a.m., hands shaking, spreadsheets glowing on my laptop screen. I knew corporate fraud when I saw it. I'd studied it in class and built safeguards against it. Except the people I built safeguards against turned out to be sitting at our family dinners. I picked up my phone to call Vicky. Then I stopped. Because I suddenly remembered something I'd dismissed 6 weeks earlier. I'd caught Vicky and Richard whispering in his office. They'd gone quiet the moment I appeared. Vicky had laughed too quickly, said they were planning Aunt Lucille's birthday. I'd believed her. I set my phone down. I needed to know how deep this went before I said a single word to anyone inside that family. I needed help from outside. Her name was Celeste Wright. I'd met her briefly at a Memphis Black Business Summit 2 years earlier. Sharp eyes, natural locks, a handshake that meant business. She was a forensic accountant with her own firm downtown on Union Avenue. We'd exchanged cards and I'd never called. I called at 7 a.m. Memphis Family Freight, I said when she answered. I think my family has been embezzling from the company I built. I need to know how bad it is before I do anything. Silence. Then, how soon can you be in my office? By 10 a.m., Celeste had my laptop, 3 years of financial records, and a legal pad filling up faster than I could talk. She asked precise questions. She didn't flinch at the numbers. She didn't offer sympathy, she offered focus. This, she said, tapping the phantom vendor invoices, is wire fraud. Potentially. Depending on how these payments were processed. They went through the company's business account, I said. Directly. Celeste looked at me steadily. Jaden, you understand that if this is what it appears to be, we're talking about federal territory. Not just civil. I absorbed that. How long to build a complete picture? I asked. Give me 72 hours, she said. 72 hours. I drove back to the office and sat through a staff meeting where Richard talked about Q1 growth strategies, while looking directly at me. He had no idea I'd been to see Celeste. No idea what was coming. You're quiet today, Jaden, Lucille said sweetly, refilling her coffee. Just thinking, I said. She smiled and patted my hand. 48 hours later, they fired me with a $4,200 check and a borrowed smile. Their timing was terrible. Or maybe mine was perfect. The moment I walked out of that boardroom, I texted Celeste one word. Go. Because here's what they didn't know. Celeste hadn't just been auditing for 72 hours. She'd already finished. I'd received her preliminary findings the night before my termination. I'd read that report in my car at midnight, alone, streetlights cutting through my windshield. The total? $387,000 in fraudulent transactions over 26 months. Richard and Lucille had constructed an entire shadow billing operation. Fake vendors. Inflated contracts. Cash routed through a separate LLC registered in Lucille's married name, Harris Consulting Group. Vicky's role was smaller but deliberate. She'd approved purchase orders she knew were fraudulent. Signed off on vendor payments as authorized. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd documented her betrayal with her own signature. I spent the first hours after my firing making 3 phone calls. First, Celeste's firm, to formally retain her and authorize the complete forensic report. Second, a business attorney named Eugene Jones, who came highly recommended and met me for coffee at Midtown Memphis within 2 hours. Third, the FBI's financial crimes tip line. That third call lasted 47 minutes. I gave them everything, account numbers, dates, vendor names, transaction records, Celeste's preliminary findings, and the name Harris Consulting Group. The agent I spoke with, a woman named Special Agent Denise Torrance, asked me to stay available and keep my mouth shut publicly. Don't post anything, she said firmly. Don't threaten anyone. Don't warn anyone. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am, I said. I went home. Made myself eat. Watched television I can't remember. Slept 3 hours. Day 2 of 72. I met with Eugene Jones to discuss my ownership stake. What he found in the operating agreement nearly made me fall out of my chair. Eugene Jones was the kind of attorney who wore reading glasses on his forehead and spoke in paragraphs. He'd been practicing business law for 31 years and had seen everything. He hadn't seen this. Jaden, he said, setting his glasses down slowly. When was this amendment added to the operating agreement? 2018, I said. Grandpa Martin added it when he made me director of operations. He wanted to